All right, let's begin. Happy Thursday, everybody. God, I had to really think about that. Praise be the spiral. Hope you're doing well, everybody. Oh yeah, that extra string equals is when you get the name wrong. So if the name is wrong, then it shows that thing. If you get the name right, it's fine. It's just if you get the name wrong. But I mean, it's a Stream Elements thing anyway. It's nothing to do with me. So yeah, there you go. It's steps with a Z as well. Yeah. Anyway, happy Thursday, everybody. God, I had to think about that twice. Hope everybody's all right. It's a bit of Cecconoid tonight. It's a bit of a relaxed C64 code. I've got no ice for my vodka, so I'm just going to be drinking vodka. It has come out of the freezer, so I'm assuming it's relatively cold. And my lemonade. I've got no lime soda either, so I'm drinking lemonade, which has also come out of the fridge. So we've got about half an hour of decent temperature thing. So yeah, let's talk about what Sean has just come in and mentioned, the Steam Deck. So this was announced a couple of hours ago, and he's basically, I don't know if you can see that, he's basically a gaming PC and a handheld. For a pretty decent price as well. So it's Valve's latest piece of hardware, but I actually think they're going to do well with this one. Whereas the Steam box was kind of like, why would you buy that when you can buy a PC for a better price? This is something you can't really buy anywhere. The closest thing to this is a Switch, I guess. But this is much better than that. So it looks very, very interesting. I'm pre-ordering one tomorrow. I'm definitely pre-ordering one tomorrow. And yeah, Valve hardware is not fail. Valve, you know, the Vive is by Valve. So no, it's a full PC. So it's a Zen 2 plus AMD 4-core CPU, an RDNA 2 GPU. 16 gigs of RAM and up to 512 gigs of NVMe storage. It runs Steam OS, so it's a variation of the Proton Linux, so it can run most Windows games as well as stuff for Linux. You can install whatever you want on it. It's you can just install Windows on it, I guess, if you wanted to, and it will dock into USB to turn into a desktop PC as well, so you can plug mouse and keyboard into it. It starts at £349 for the 64 gig model, and goes up to £569 for the 512 gig model. But it looks incredible. I really, really want one. I will be pre-ordering it tomorrow. You can pre-order it tomorrow from 6 p.m. Or you can reserve a pre-order. Sorry, should I say, tomorrow from 6 p.m. But it looks really nice. I think the thing that sells it to me, right, is it's a device with a Switch-like profile, but it's a PC, so I can run emulators on it as well. So that means I can run Yazoo or whatever it's called, which is the Switch emulator, which it will run on this as well to emulate Switch games. But I can also put PS3 games on it, Xbox 360 games on it, all the kind of classics you would see on a RetroPie, plus all the stuff that doesn't run on a RetroPie because it's too small. So yeah, it's pretty impressive. Can you use it as a Stream Deck? The funny thing is when you search for Stream Deck is what comes up in at first. But yeah, you probably could use it as a Stream Deck. Yeah. Yes, I told Sean about it and he went, "Oh, do you mean Stream Deck? They're really good." And I was like, "Yeah, I've got one." Yeah, I just meant this. So yeah, it's pretty good. It seems like they've been working on this in relative secrecy as well, because I hadn't heard anything about it until today, and it was only announced today, and yet it's going to be coming out in December. So I feel like someone at Valve had a bit of a pandemic project and they went on a mission with this. But yeah, it looks really good. I will definitely be giving it a try. I like my handhelds, as you all know. I've got my drawer full of, I've got my Nomad, I've got my my GPD, my NDS, my Switches, PSP, PS Vita, things like that. So I'll be definitely getting one of these to add to my collection of handhelds, and I think it's pretty unique in that respect. It's got some interesting features as well. Like it's got an R4 and an R5 button, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's an extra 4 buttons on a pad, which we don't normally have. So it might be useful. Plus, it's got dual trackpads as well. It seems like it's going to be a very different kind of hard piece of hardware from Valve to the Steam box. I think it's actually going to be pretty decent, because there isn't anything this power and this price. The closest thing is this thing called the GPD Win 3 Max. 3 Max, which unfortunately has Linux's face all over the site because he did a review on it. But it is a nice looking piece of kit with a slide up screen and a keyboard underneath. But it's almost £1,000, and it runs on Intel's Iris Core graphics internally, so not that ideal in that respect. But this is about as close as you get to it, and this is almost £1,000. So it's like half the price for way more power. It's RDNA 2 graphics in the Steam one, so it's going to be probably round about the same kind of power as an Xbox Series S. So not the full black tower one, but the small one I've got in my PC. The Series S, so like a cut down version of the Series X. It's going to be round about that kind of power. A few less cores, I think, on the CPU, but it is going to have similar kind of ray tracing capabilities and stuff. So it looks very interesting. Anyway, I'm looking forward to trying one out. So. Anyway, let's crack on with the night. Let's give you all some points. There we go. Let's get my windows all sorted out here and here. Yep. Where's my overlay? I think there is. Right, there we go. And stick the races on. Steam comes out of it immediately when it. Oh, good news! Spoke to John earlier and he's doing fine. Cool. Good to hear. Sounds like it all went well, which is okay. Cool. So he'll be back soon then. I wouldn't. I mean, I've got two Switch. I've got the original Switch with the neon controllers. The what was it, orange and blue neon controllers. But I hacked that too. I did the jailbreak hack on that, so it will run stuff. But now it's banned online, so I just use that as a like, if I want to try something out on the Switch, I will try out on that first. Then I've got the Switch Lite, which is actually, I do prefer to use that. I've never really been one for using the Switch on the TV. So the Switch Lite was kind of perfect for me. It's a little bit smaller, so it feels a little bit better in the hand than the full size Switch. And it just feels a little bit better to me. So I've got that for my Nintendo, but this is just like on another level. So I'm glad I haven't kind of bought into various. Wait, why is that doing that? I put it on the right one. Okay. I'm glad I've not bought into the kind of Switch OLED, and I've not really been kind of desperate for a Switch Pro or anything. So I'm glad that's been the case, and I've got that. But yeah, I look forward to it. Yeah. Oh, what are they on there? Is it 8 or 14? Okay. The thing with the Switch Pro is the only way the fans would be satisfied with the Switch Pro is if it did 4K. And I don't think Nintendo have any intentions of doing 4K of this generation at all. It just doesn't make any sense for them to do that, because if they do that, they basically either have to divide the Switch library in two, games that will run at 4K and games that won't. or they need to make games not that good on the 4K. So they're the games. Do you know what I mean? They can't have a game that needs 4K because then it won't work on the old Switches. So they'd either have to make the games really shit on 1080 on 4K by making them decent on 1080p and 720p because of the handheld as well, or they'd have to kind of have two very different kind of feel games, and I don't think they're willing to do that. They've never been one for doing that sort of thing anyway. So yeah. Um, I don't think it's. I don't think Switch. I don't think Nintendo needs to do anything. They're selling so well. They really don't need to. I mean, they dominate the handheld space, right? Nothing comes close to them. And it hasn't done for years since like Nintendo DS, basically. The closest anybody ever got to them was Sony with the PSP. Not even the PS Vita. The PS Vita was pretty much a failure. The PSP kind of had a bit of a go, but it wasn't even that didn't take chunks out of Nintendo. They basically dominated it, so there's no need for them to produce anything. And the thing is at the end of the day, you've got to remember that even though the Switch can be used as a home console, it's a handheld. It's there to replace the NDS, and it's there to kind of replace the Wii U as well. But what they've done is they've moved it over to being a handheld that just happens to plug into a TV as well. So anyway, right, let's crack on. So on the last stream we did some bug fixing, I believe, and we now have. Oh, it was the laser, wasn't it? Yeah, there was some last minute fixing, which was pretty decent actually. We managed to get the laser not to crash when you exit this screen, and it was down to these exploding. So when these exploded and that sprite was used, you came in this screen and then it would crash, and now it doesn't do that. And the end result is we've now got a much smoother screen as well, because now we've got dynamic sprite and dynamic particle counts on. In fact, did we put the dynamic particle counts in? I cannot remember. Let's have a look. I think we did actually. Yeah, we did, didn't we? Because it would be in screen macros, wouldn't it? Screen macros. At the bottom. Set performance, sprites, particles. Yeah, so we can set the number of sprites and particles per screen. So that's pretty good. By the way, will there be a beta testing for stream views? What of Cecconoid? There will be some kind of testing. I don't know what it's going to be. To be honest, that's not down to me. That's down to Andy at Thalamus, what he wants to do with it. Essentially, this game, while I've kind of taken most of the control over kind of developing it, it is essentially a Thalamus game, or it will be released under a Thalamus game. So I'm at the kind of whim of what the publisher wants to do here. So I can't really decide who's going to test it. Oh, we need to turn that back on as well, don't we? Because that's currently red and it should be black and behind. So let's go and fix that. And then I think what we can probably, in fact, no, I'll leave it on for now, because what I'm going to do is probably the Sprite Collision, because I seem to remember last time we were looking at how the Sprite Collision might work. And the problem is there were certain places you could go or you could get to where your sprites could be colliding in weird combinations. Actually, here's not too bad, but so I think what we're going to do is we'll do a combination of two. We'll make this a generic kind of sprite test function, and what you'll be able to do is you'll just be able to query whether two sprites are touching or not. So what I'll do is I'll make it something that you only call on screens that you need it on. No point in calling it on every screen, because it could be a potential performance hog. And what it will do is it will, first of all, it will check if two sprites are touching using the hardware sprite register. So in this case, yes, two sprites are touching. But then once those sprites are touching, it will go through the list of the ones that are touching and work out exactly which ones are touching which. So you'll be able to do a check for is this sprite touching this sprite, for instance, and it will tell you if it truly is based on both hardware and hardware and kind of range, like bounds checking as well. Probably want to test. Would also even buy it test before final release. Yeah, I mean, as I say, I don't know how Thalamus wants to do it. But we can certainly kind of think about that once we get to that point. It's actually, we're probably doing quite well with this, I think. Really, once the sprite collision is in, it's just a matter of plodding through each screen one at a time. It shouldn't be too difficult. I mean, it's going to be time consuming, but it shouldn't be too difficult to finish the game off from this point. A few minor tweaks we need to do to the graphics. The more and more I think about these things here, the more I realize, yes, they have to be chopped down a little bit, and I can see exactly how they can be chopped down. So I might edit those at some point and just give the file back to Andy, because it's I get what he's saying about having this as a piece that is, you can pass through, but the problem with that is then we've got a special rule that we have to apply just for this one piece, and it's like it's already kind of quite tight with the music and stuff. I don't want to add any more kind of weird checks in for things, especially in stuff like particles, because at the moment, actually you can't see it on there because of actually it's just falling just below it. But on a screen like this one, for instance, which does have one at the bottom, you'll see the particles die here. So that means this particle routine, in order for that not to happen, this particle routine also has to check if this is passable, as well as the player checking if it's passable, as well as the bullets checking if it's passable. See that the bullets at the moment are hitting that, and they shouldn't be hitting that because they're quite a bit above it. So I think that has to be changed. I don't see a better way around that. Anyway, let's well, first of all, I want to turn these border things off because they're driving me mad a little bit. So let's get my screen set up. Okay, well, let's go and find out where I'm actually using the D020 stuff, because I'm pretty sure I'm using it directly in a few places, and I need to get rid of that. Cart loader, no, don't care about that one. Game loop, yeah, this is where it should definitely be. There's one, yeah. Particles, knew I was using it somewhere. Thank you very much for the hosts in there, and thank you for the host as well, Andy. Missed that one. Thank you, I appreciate it. Cheers. Or what's it in Finnish? Kipas, kipis, kipis, kipis. Yeah. Skull. I think it's Swedish, isn't it? Or skull. Or is that Danish? I can't remember. Kipis, kipis. Skull. Yeah. There we go. It's kind of weird how the languages that I know tend to be like the weird. Well, sorry, not weird's the wrong word. Sorry, people from Sweden and Scandinavia in general, and Finland and stuff. Oh yeah, so it's skull. Yeah. Estonian is like Finnish, Sean. It's similar language. I've mentioned this last time. It's one of like three languages: Hungarian, Estonian, and Finnish. They're only three with a kind of common root, common root in the language. So, okay, right. So that removes those. So let's just run it again. Make sure that has removed all the border stuff, because I don't want that to be flashing all the time. He had friends that worked in Estonia for a while, so there's Skull in Norwegian as well. Okay. Yeah, I do remember that being quite, and I think you can say it in Finnish as well, can't you? But I think it's like double O in Finnish. Of course, it is. I think it's like this. I think it's that in Finnish because Finnish, so they've always got to put double vowels in everywhere. Okay, so there's still another border. I'm not sure where that thing is going on. Let's have a look, see if we can find it. So I've done that one. Oh, what was that one? Oh, that's the screen copies. It's not that one. Let's get rid of all these ones as well, because these are the multiplexer ones. I don't think we need those anymore. I think all the multiplexer stuff I'm kind of happy with now. It was literally just that one small problem with screen resetting that was causing the issues. He was watching what seems to be the first channel stream available on YouTube. Yes, that was yeah, the first one on YouTube is indeed my first stream. That's one I need to clear. Okay, that might be enough. Yeah, he's not been to Finland. I should take him. He'd like Finland, I think. If he likes Estonia, he'd like Finland. Because let's be honest, Sean. It's not Estonia particularly. It's Tallinn, right? Is what you like. In which case you'll like kind of Helsinki and stuff. But yeah, I must admit the old town in Tallinn is freaking awesome. Okay, I'm still missing one somewhere. Multiplexer. Oh, this one. Here we go. Ink there. Got to clear all these things out because I don't want them kind of lurking around and causing me issues. Let's get rid of them all. Right, I think that's it. That's got to be it now. Yeah, there we go. Okay, cool. All right, cool. So what we're going to do, first of all, we're just going to do hardware sprite collisions. So basically, if we're touching a sprite, then we'll change the color of the border. This is why I wanted to turn it off so we can do that. So if the sprite is touching, we change the border color. Now we try to think how I need to do this. Oh, it's because I've got full borders on. That's why. Yeah. So one of the settings in here in the Vic2 settings is the borders. You've got normal borders, which is what you would see with a normal TV. You've got full borders, which lets you see a little bit more. So this is kind of the maximum visible area on like an LCD TV or something like that. And then you've got debug borders, which shows you the whole thing, the whole path of the raster. And so you can see you've got quite a lot more time in the left-hand side of the border than you do in the right-hand side. And then none, which just trims everything. Debug is good if you want to see exactly kind of where your raster is, especially like in the bottom and left as well. You get a lot more in those places. But full is usually okay. But I do like to have it on debug when I'm doing some kind of critical timing stuff, so that's probably why it's on there. Okay, let's get some more of this booze in me. Okay, so I need to think about when to do this this check, and I need to remember: is it D01E? I think it is, isn't it? D01E, yeah. Okay. So let me just check the exact note for this. Sprite collision indicate bits. Okay. Now the problem with this is going to trigger differently as the sprites move down the screen. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the value that it pumps out, and just store it somewhere that we can monitor and maybe run it through the debugger. So let's just read that value. Let's put it in the game loop for now. But I think what we'll probably do is move this out to somewhere. Actually, no, it doesn't make sense in the game loop either, because this value is going to change in weird places. So I don't think this is quite right. Because we're using a multiplexer, the sprite is potentially going to collide at one part of the screen and then not in another part. So, well, let's see what happens. Let's store the value. So let's just do it. Where can we do this? Well, here's our main loop. This is our frame exit. So let's just do it here on the frame exit for now. So let's get rid of that. So I'm going to load the value in D018. I'm just going to store it somewhere I'll store it in the register clears on read. Yeah, but so what happens if you've got two sprites that collide and then further down the screen, there's one of the sprites involved in that collision is moved? So I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe. That's probably why, actually. That's probably why it's fine, right? Because the moment we read it, all the collisions that did take place have been kind of consolidated into there. I'm just wondering what happens if like you move things around. Do you know what I mean? So if a screen. Oh, I need to. By the way, Andy, I need to get you to pick an image for the AMK alert as well. AMK point alert. I'm thinking probably the Magic Knight logo that you've got in Discord, I guess. That's what I call AMK points. Yeah, it was him that came up with the idea, and they've kind of evolved from there. Anyway, all right. Well, let's just take a look at this value. Let's find somewhere to put it. I'm going to put it in 0 page somewhere, and then we can take a look at it in detail. Actually, do you know what? I can just store it anywhere, right? If I store it in the player code, there's only the player really needs to do a collision check. Everything else doesn't really need to collision check. The mace does as well, I guess, but mace is part of the player as well. All right, so let's put it in the player code. So let's actually move it out of here, and instead I'm going to do it in the player update code. Actually, that's a good point. The only thing we care about is whether the player or the mace is touching anything. We don't care about anything else. Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking that exact thing. Yeah, the sprite one collides. Yeah, so really, if all we need to care about is has the player collided with anything? We don't care about anything else. So 5 AMK points. Yeah, go on, I'll give you some points. I'm feeling generous. I'm feeling generous tonight. It has been a while for you as well, hasn't it? Bless him. He needs his sustenance. Why can't I click on? I can't click on your name. Oh, it doesn't want me to give you them. Oh, there we go. Okay, right. So in that case, what I'm going to do is on the player update function, which I think is, see, what's it called? Player control. Oh, we're actually in player control now. Okay. So yeah, we'll just grab it here for now. For now, I'm just going to put it up in. I'm going to call it player sprite collisions, actually. And it's just going to be a byte, and we're just going to store it here. But I'm also going to store. Or actually, it's not going to make a difference, is it? I don't have. Hang on, I need to think about this. Right, okay, let me just store it there first. Okay, so that's where that's going to go, and then I'm going to end that with whatever that. I can't even remember what the player's in. So okay, I need to check this in the multiplayer in the debugger, so I can actually see what's going on. Oh yeah, you've already worked this one out. In fact, I think you've had the theme for it. So okay, so I just need to load it up because I can't remember which sprite. I'm pretty sure these end two are the main sprites. Yeah. And the only time that changes is if I've got the mace, in which case I think the mace becomes one of these multiplex sprites. Oh, why has it crashed? Oh no, it hasn't crashed. It's just thought it crashed then. Okay, so what we're looking at is the value in D01. Actually, I think we can check that directly in here. Yeah, we can see that here. And we can see it is indeed changing. But what we need to look for is whether the value is minus. So if the value is minus, then the player has hit something. So let's just do a quick check in here. So if it's plus, we'll jump to here. Otherwise, we'll increment the border and see what happens. Because what I'm thinking is it might be enough on some screens to not use the accurate anything other than the hardware. Maybe we can do a mix of the collision types. I mean, on this screen, for instance, if you are, oh no, because if the mace, oh no, because if the mace is touching them, it's not, the mace never touches you. So okay, this might actually work out all right. Like, is it possible? Okay, so obviously that touches there. It might be enough to use the hardware actually. Okay, so we're looking for this sprite, but not with this one. So we basically need to ignore this one. So in that case, what we need to do is we need to AND it with, well, let's do it like this. So we don't care about that sprite. We do care about everything else. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, like so. And then at this point, if the value is negative, then this sprite is involved in a collision. So then we AND it with the remaining values here. And if it's equal to 0, we've not collided with any of the other ones. So this will just rule out any mask collisions here as well. So let's put a little note in what we're doing. So check player versus all but mask. Rule out mask. There we go. List of non-needed sprite to check per screen. Yeah, I think it's going to be something like that. Yeah. I'm not entirely sure exactly what, but I think it's going to be kind of along those lines. Oh, it's gone back to full. What's it gone back to full borders again? I don't know why that's happened. Maybe I didn't save the settings. Settings. Save settings on exit. Okay. Obviously, I didn't save the settings on the exit, so I will quickly save now. I just want it on full. Okay. Settings. Save settings. Right, there we go. So now here's the problem. Yeah, this was the problem. So the problem is here that we're involved in a collision, but some of these are also involved in a collision. And this is where the hardware limitation comes in, is because these are involved in a collision, we don't know which ones are involved. So the moment I go inside this mask, there is a collision involving me, and there's a collision involving the lasers. But those two things are not the same. So we do need to check. Okay, that's fine. Okay, cool. That's absolutely fine. So what we need to do in that case is we need to create a little sprite collision class. I think there is a collision class here, so we'll use this one, and we'll build it into this, I guess. Okay, so let's just grab all of that and build on top of this. Okay, so actually in this case we don't need to build a list of. We just check against the sprites and we return multiplexer values that are involved in the collision with the player. They have to directly be involved in the collision. So the moment what this is doing, this is checking. Let's put a note in here. So at this point, let's not store that either. Let's just keep hold of it here for now. At this point, player is involved in a collision, and sprites 0 to 5 are involved in a collision. So now we need to confirm if these collisions are the same. Okay, so we know which sprite numbers have been used, but that doesn't really help us very much because we're using a multiplexer, so that's not going to be a huge asset to us. However, actually checking once we've got a hardware collision is quite an easy thing to do. So at this point, what we need to do is we need to go through. Let's call this exit as well, so we're not jumping over a huge block of code with a label that's not necessarily going to be useful. And we'll exit with some value set. I'm not sure what it's going to be yet, but we'll set a value when we exit somewhere to say what we're involved in, what the collisions was. For now, we'll just increment this border color to say that we've been involved in the correct kind of collision. So the other thing we could probably do here is decide which sprite we want to check. Now at the moment we're just checking this sprite here. Let me run this in the debugger so we can see what's happening. I'm not sure how the mace is going to be implemented, whether or not it uses its own sprite or whether it's just going to be part of the debug list, part of the multiplexer list. I assume it's in the multiplexer list, which does complicate things ever so slightly. But why is that not working? I just want to see which sprite it uses. I have a funny feeling. Why is that not loading? Oh, because it didn't save. There we go. Really need to fix that. There's a maze. The mace does not get destroyed, but the mace will obviously trigger the hardware collision. So we need to make sure that it does, and also it can destroy enemies as well. So it can't destroy the lasers, but it can destroy other enemies, which will be mace, which will be sprites. So there will be. This is so obvious. You're all feels. It's not that obvious. It's really not. It's way more. It's to be fair compared to your last one. It's way more obvious, but. Um, Yeah, so the mace is involved in collisions, and it will, while the mace itself doesn't get destroyed, it does destroy other things. So um, not I mean, most of the stuff it's destroyed at the moment is characters, but it will eventually need to destroy sprite enemies as well. So why is this not loading? What's going on? Oh, because I've already got it open, that's why. There we go. Well, I think we may have to do this collision slightly differently for the mace, because of where it's going to be in the list. I think. Why does it keep breaking at that point? Do I have a break point there somewhere? Let's just do a quick check. I must have a break point somewhere. Okay. 3042. Is that the one it's picking up? No. Okay. I don't know why it's getting that, but it keeps breaking at that point for some reason. It's weird. I don't know why. SP, thank you for the resub. Appreciate it, my man. Cheers. Kippis. Skull. All right, let's get another alcohol on the go. Tastes really weird after having it with ice for so long. There we go. Kippis. Okay, let's go and get that mace. It's funny seeing the sprites down there when they're all kind of messed up. Right, okay. So there we go. We've got the mace now. And yeah, you can see actually that the mace is in. Oh, why am I stuck? Oh, what's going on here? I think I've found another crash. Okay, let's try this out on Vice. It's a bit easier to see. I just realised what tune you're playing, Andy. Why is it not low? What is going on with this tonight? Oh, I'm pressing the wrong buttons. They're not crashes, they're extended resting periods. It could very well be a crash here just because of the way the sprite multiplexer works and the fact that the mace is another sprite. So okay, didn't happen on this for some reason. Okay, that's weird. Okay, but what I did notice was that the mace is the mace is part of the multiplexer routine, so this is going to have to be slightly different anyway. So what I'll do for now is I'll do the collision based on the player, and then I might just have to adjust this slightly to deal with mace to other sprites as well, because we will need to do that. We definitely will need to do that mace to sprite collision. But for now, we can just keep it separate. And I have a funny feeling when we get to the mace to sprite collision, we're going to get all sorts of crash bugs. But for now, I'm not going to worry about it. I just want to get the rest of the collision in. The reason I want to get the collision in is because I want to go and do one of the Robotron rooms. It's one of the first rooms you come to. And it'd be good to get that out of the way because that's kind of a big step we need to take. And be a good test for the multiplexer as well. Okay. bit bigger. There we go. I'll be playing a little bit of Resi Evil as well again tonight. I want to get through that game, and I'll be playing Spider-Man tomorrow. I'd say no stream on Saturday, so I'll be streaming a bit of PS5 tomorrow once I get back from. Well, I've got a few things to do when I get back from my vaccine, but probably in the evening, same time as usual, probably. Hey, Deft. But yeah, I'll play. So it'll be probably round about 8:30, 9 o'clock or something. It might be a little bit earlier than normal, but I'll be playing. I'll be drinking white wine and vodka and playing Spider-Man. So should be fun. It'll start off well and then just go to shit. I'm pretty sure. So. Right, so the player's involved in a collision. So what do we need to do? Okay, so we need to check the bounding box of the player against the bounding box of all the other sprites. White wine and vodka dream combo. Don't you know it? Don't you know it? Yeah, look how well the code went. I mean, I can't imagine how well gaming is going to go. It's just going to be perfect, right? Okay, so in that case, what we're going to do, we're going to cycle through all the sprites in the multiplexer. So to do this, I'm just going to go and grab one of the Oh, actually, maybe not like the no, because this is the multiplexer itself, isn't it? I don't want to mess with this. Okay, so what I need to do in that case is just check frame and raster 0 and FF. I think is enough to check if a sprite is active or not, and we check him from sprite 2 onwards, because sprites 0 and 1 are the mask and the player. We don't need to check those. We know where they are. We know we're not checking against them. We're checking against the first one, obviously, for the player, but we're not checking the second one. The second one, we're just assuming it's going to be the mask all the time, which it looks like it is. So in that case, all we need to do is cycle through the sprites. So let's just take this routine and adapt it for our needs. Okay, so collision. So here, all right. So what are we doing? We're checking from sprite 2, and we're going to check all the sprites in a loop. So we're going to make this loop here. We're checking against the maximum number of multiplex sprites, which is actually going to be different, isn't it? Because we've actually got this value, and that comes from the multiplexer. So this is actually a value that changes on the fly. And that's actually outside, so that's fine. Vmax multiplex sprites doesn't need to be scoped. Because we can change the number of multiplex sprites on a screen. So changing the number of sprites is also going to change the efficiency of this routine. And then we need to check if we need to actually check this sprite or not. So, in fact, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to call this exit 0. I'm going to load the accumulator with 0, and I'm going to return. So this is going to be our normal kind of exit when nothing has collided. We're going to jump to here. Otherwise, we're going to load a value, and it's going to be this value, whatever the value of x is at the given time, and return that, and it will tell us which of the multiplex sprite indexes we've hit, which should be enough for us to. Because we don't need to know if we've hit more than one. We only need to know we've hit one. If we've hit any of the ones that we're interested in, then we can throw an error. And the thing is we can kind of what Nick Mo was saying before. We can, although not quite the same, is we can have certain indexes which are ignored, I guess, for this. But yeah, it's yeah. Well, actually, it kind of is what you were saying. So. But all right, let's crack on. So we're going to load the frame, and if that is equal to 0, we'll jump to skip. So if that's equal, we know that we're equal to 0. Then we know that we can't possibly hit that. I may change that to raster, but for now we'll go for this one because it's going to be the easiest one. If we're checking the raster, we have to check if it's FF. Which means we actually have to do a comparison. But if we're just checking the frame is 0, then we can just check, do a branch if equal. So that solves that kind of issue here. Okay. And that's kind of it for checking whether or not the frame is visible or not. Now, if the frame is visible, what we need to do is we need to check that against our player value. So this is where we need to start doing some comparisons. So the easiest way to do this is to start up here by taking the player X and the player Y position. And the easiest way to do this is going to be to take half the value of X and the value of Y. Now, the reason I'm doing half the value of X is because X is a 9-bit number. I don't want to have to do everything in 9 bits. And for the purposes of collision, doing it in 8 bits is going to be fine. So just halving that player Y value should be fine. This needs to be multiplexer .data.frame there. So that it can grab this this data here, and it needs to be data frame. So we basically need these values here turned into a single 8-bit value. We need to just store that value in something somewhere. I'll see about doing it with self mod, but we might be better to do it some other way. But let's create it first. So get player position Y and half X. So to do half X, we're going to take multiply data X MSB plus 0, 0 equals player. So our first sprite in the list should be the player. Hopefully it's the player. Actually, let's go and check that. It could be number 1. Oh, it looks like it is number 1, not 0. So 0 is actually the mask. This is looking like it is the player. Okay, so plus 1 is the player. Good job I checked that. That would have been kind of embarrassing. Does the Mace sprite has to be multiplexed? No, but if we don't multiplex that, then we're down to 5 sprites in the multiplexer. And for something that's moving around so fast and could flicker, and it will look fine if it flickers and stuff, I felt it made more sense to just add it to the multiplexer. Because the problem is the more sprites we take out of the multiplexer, the more we limit what you can have on a single line. It's not a huge problem at the moment with the layout of the screens, but there is a screen with lasers that go horizontal. Those are going to be problematic if we don't have a lot of room to do the horizontal laser. So there's also a room with a big kind of ring of pieces that go round, and that's got things in the middle as well. So that's probably going to need them as well. So technically, no, it doesn't need to be multiplexed, but I think it's probably it probably is sensible to keep it multiplexed. The reason why the ship isn't multiplexed is obviously because it's the ship. You don't want the ship to flicker. You want that to be a kind of solid thing on the screen. If everything else is going to shit on the screen because the multiplexer is under strain, at least the player is still static. And likewise with the mask as well, because the mask is covering the player. You don't want that mask to kind of flicker, because then you're going to get weird kind of if you do get a multiplexer issue, you are going to get like the player suddenly appearing and disappearing and stuff, and it'll look very weird. So that's the reason why those two are kept out of it. Everything else, though, can quite frankly be part of that. I mean, technically, I could put the player in there as well, but it just I prefer looking at the player static and not having it flash around. So yeah, anyway, that's why. All right, so I'm going to shift this to the right to half it. This is going to just take the MSB for this player and put it into the carry flag if it's 1, or just leave it clear if it's 0, or make it clear if it's 0. Does the mask has to be 0 because it is sprite drawing order? Yeah. I'm obviously. I mean, well, actually, it probably doesn't matter, because I think what I'm doing is I'm assigning them to sprite 6 and 7 automatically. But it just so happens that I've decided that for some reason player is 1 and mask is 0. But It could be the other way around. I don't think it really matters because these are not hardware values, right? These are variables that get proxied into those values. So okay, so carry is clear or set at this point, which contains this value, and then all I need to do is take this value and roll it to the right, and that will incorporate the carry on there as well. Now the value in here is our half x. I'm just going to store it at what I'm going to call half x pos. Oh, there is a half x pos. Where is that then? Is that in here? Okay, it's not in here. I'm going to call it. I'm worried now. Where is that? Oh, it's in the power ups. Oh, and it is a okay. It's already a self mod. Okay, that's fine. We shall keep it the same then. Half X pos, a good name. Just picking good names for things, I guess. Okay, and then we need the Y pos. The Y pos is nice and simple. It's like that. I'm going to call that store at Y pos. Right. So the reason I need to store them is because what I need to do now is I need to take the values that we have, and I need to subtract like the positions of these sprites and subtract them. So if you imagine, let's just look at a sprite from the point of view of an X position, right? So if our sprite is if our player is here, let's say he's at position 4 on the screen, and our sprite is over here at position 10, and we take the X position of this sprite and take it away from this one, that gives us a value of 6, right? So 4 minus 10 equals 6. So what that means is if this sprite is 6 wide, then it's colliding with this. If it's anything less than 6 wide, it's not colliding with this. We know the width of the sprite. All sprites have a set width, so can this lead to problems overwriting when self-mod code of another function? No, because we use scope. So all my functions have these brackets around them to scope all the variables within there. So you can't access this variable without doing sprite collision dot half x pos. In fact, it would be collision dot sprite collision dot half x pos. One of the beauties of Kick assembler is the way that the variables are scoped. Likewise, if this sprite is in a lesser position here, then our value here is now 2 minus 4 equals minus 2. Because this is less than 0, these sprites technically haven't collided because we're only looking at the width of this sprite. However, once we include the width of this sprite, which we do need to, then we actually need to add that to these values here as well. So basically, if this value is less than 0, then the first thing we need to do is we need to add. If this number is more than 0, we can leave it alone because it means we're on this side of the sprite. If this number is less than 0, then we need to add the width of this sprite. So let's imagine that these sprites are 4 pixels wide, right? These numbers are very arbitrary, right? So in this case, there's no collision because this number is more than 4. In this case, we're less than 0, so we need to add the 4 here, which is the width of our sprite, and that gives us 2, and 2 is less than 4, so we've collided. So this is how we can very quickly check if there has been a collision between if one is contained within the other. So we'll do this down here. Should be relatively easy to do. So what we do is we take the target number, in this case it's this number here, and we have to do the same thing that we do up here. So we have to shift this like so. Actually, can we do this? We might be able to do this. I'm just trying to think what happens if we've got a number. No, I'm gonna stick with it this way. I mean, we would still have to do some kind of additional work if we would just subtract this straight away. So we may as well do this, which is actually less cycles anyway. So okay, so now we have a value in this accumulator, in the accumulator here, which is now multiplexed sprites half x. So now we know that the half x of this sprite, which is basically this value here. So now we need to do, actually, it should be 10 minus 4, not yeah, like that. Now we need to take away our value. So I'm going to put beef in here, and I'm going to change this to half x pos. Okay, so now the accumulator, set the carry flag here as well. Now the accumulator either contains a value which is more than our bounds. So let's put our let's call it let's call it width, sprout bounds width like that. We'll call it 16 pixels because I think that's about right for our sprite. We can play around with the exact values in here to get something which feels tight enough but not cruel enough that, you know, the slightest kind of nudge into your bounding box and you end up colliding. 16 is probably about right. So we're going to check that here. So first of all, we check, is this number, where is it? Is this number, yeah, let's do this check first. So we check the first one. So we're going to check, is the value that we get, the result here, is it less than or equal to, well, less than this value, it's less than the sprite bounds width. So we compare that to this. And if that's equal, we're going to jump ahead to collide, we'll call it. And what collide is going to do is this is just going to increment the border here. In reality, what we'll do is once we've got this working is we'll make this return. We'll do an exit probably here with this value. But for now, if this value, not branch if equal, sorry, branch if carry clear. So if our value is less than the bounds width, then that means our value is between 0 and 15, which means we're definitely within this range. So it's the equivalent in this case of being between 0 and 4, 0 to 3 even in this case. However, if that's not the case and we're more, then the next thing that we need to do is if the value is positive still, so if the value is between whatever sprite bounds width is and 127, then we've not collided. We've definitely not collided when we jump ahead to skip. Otherwise, we might just be a really big negative number, a really small negative number. Sorry, in which case we need to then, oh, pardon me, in which case we need to add our sprite bounds width here. Now the carry is clear here. Sorry, no, the carry is set here at this point. So what we can do is we can just add sprite bounds width -1. Because the carry is always set here. So we only need to add the value -1 because it will add the extra one because of the carry flag. And then at that point, we do the same comparison again. We compare against sprite bounds width, and we jump to collide if we have not, if we've collided. But what we'll do is we'll just flip it on its head and we'll jump to skip, basically, if not. And that's pretty much it for. Actually, no. This would be skip. Oh no, it would be skip because we're not within the bounds. Okay. So let's call this collide H. This means that we've collided horizontally. It means our horizontal position is within the range of collision. So now we need to do the same thing with the vertical. And that's basically the same thing, just stripped down a little bit. So instead of doing X pos, we do Y pos. Y pos is not halved, so we don't need to do any of this stuff here. This remains the same. This remains the same. This is now called YPOS, which we get from up here. So you can see why the self mod is a good idea here, because now we're using immediate mode addressing for these things, which is good. And this changes to sprite bounds height, which is also going to be 16 as well for now. And again, they will jump to skip if we haven't collided. So at any point, if our bounds check it does not match, then we shortcut out of it. We should probably actually check the vertical first, because, and the reason I say this is because if you look at the size of a screen, there's more chance of you colliding vertically than there is horizontally, and you want to exit as quickly as possible. So let's switch these around. Let's change this to collide V. Let's move this up here. Let's call this collide V. And let's move this up here. So yeah, whenever you're doing anything with a shortcut, short circuit exit like this, especially in assembly, it matters less in other languages, but because you tend to have more performance. But in assembly, always try and take the quickest route out of your function. There's a few reasons why this is better this way around. The main one being that you're more likely to collide vertically than horizontally. If you take two positions on the screen and compare the horizontal positions, they're less likely to overlap than they are vertically, because horizontally you've got 320 pixels, vertically you've only got 200. So you're almost twice as likely to collide vertically. Well, not quite. It's like 60% more likely to collide vertically. Secondly, if you do collide vertically, you've done way less code. So let's say the chances were equal here. It would still be better to do this one first, because you've had to do less code. You haven't had to do these rolls. You haven't had to do this shift. You haven't had to do two XPOS grabs. You've only had to do one. So it's better to do this one first anyway. So you're not going to see a huge amount of performance difference on these things, but it's just worth keeping in mind when you do these things to kind of pay attention to what the code is going to do. And I'm hoping that the optimization challenges that I've been giving you guys have kind of helped you kind of look at things in this way as well. And certainly I have to say, with the chess challenge this month, there's probably a lot of stuff like this in there. There's probably a lot of cases where the code will be more optimal just by doing one thing before another one. For instance, the order that you check pieces in the chess one is probably going to be quite important. Which pieces are more likely to have a piece in check than others. So on and so on and so on. So that's why I kind of liked this month's challenge. I think it's probably a little bit more complex than I probably should have gone for, but I think people are kind of getting on with it all right. It'll be good. It'll be interesting to see anyway. And the two boards to give away, so should be good. But yeah, that's why it's probably better to switch these around like that. And we'll change that to collide. All right, there we go. So now we've got something which is checking against all the sprites here. So let's just add the height thing in here as well. I think that's probably going to be 16 as well. I will keep them in here for now, but I'm probably going to move them out. I have got a constants file that I will move them to eventually when I'm happy with the value. In fact, well, let's go and move them now. It makes sense, I guess. It won't hurt to have them in here. So sprite pointers, let's put them in the multiplex area, because it's kind of checking multiplexer stuff, even though it's not technically. Oh, I think I've taken a little bit too much of that function. So let's go and put that back. But you can see here we have a short circuit if there is no collision in the hardware collision. Then we quickly grab the player values that we need, and then we start checking them against other sprites. There is no short circuit once we've collided. This is what we will do eventually, but for now we're just gonna trigger this collide value here, and we're gonna see what happens. Hopefully this actually works properly now. So what we should see is the border flashing colors when we collide with the lasers. And the problem we had was that if we sat underneath the mask on this screen here. Oh, actually, it's not, because I have actually got to call it as well. So Sprite Collision. There we go. Let's do it in. Yeah, let's do it in player control. So. Actually, it's probably not the right place to do that now. Now it's separate. Probably needs to belong in here somewhere. Now, because this doesn't have any effect on what's drawn on the screen, this is something that's probably best in the second half of the stuff. So a lot of the things that we do are critical because they need to be calculated before the raster gets to that point. With the collision checking like this, it doesn't matter. So we can do this right at the end down here. And it's absolutely fine for us to do that there because it just means that the collision is going to be ready for the next frame if we need it. I'm fine with it being there, and a kind of 1 frame delay in the collision is probably better than instant collision because it gives you a little bit of safety. It gives you that what do they call it? There's a word for it in modern kind of games. Is it coyote time? I think they use for jumps and stuff. It's kind of similar to that. It's giving you 1 frame of kind of safety, and that you can make a mistake for 1 frame, then you're back. It's called coyote time, I think. So games like Celeste use it, where if you run off a platform edge, there's like a couple of frames, like 2 or 3 frames, where you won't actually fall, where you can still jump and still run back. So you can still run back and you can still jump at that point, but you're off the platform. There isn't any floor underneath you. They did it because they wanted the games to feel a bit more forgiving. And it's actually a really nice feel to games, and I think it's used in a lot of games now. But it's kind of like that. But it's kind of unintentional, but it should, in theory, make the game feel slightly less kind of punishing, which I'm all for. All right, let's give this a try. Okay, I'm in the wrong file. I'm looking forward to Spider-Man tomorrow. I've got to say, I should probably put that in and install it. Actually, I'll do that tomorrow, though. I haven't installed it yet. Okay, so we know the collision's working because we're getting the flashes as we get hit. But what we're interested in is, does it work on the laser? So this should flash as it goes through us, which it does. And does it not work when we hit the mask here? Okay, perfect. So you can see, because what we were getting before is the hardware collision was saying, yes, we're colliding. And no matter how we checked it, it was throwing errors because these sprites here were also saying, yes, we're colliding. Because what happens at the very end here is the very last sprite here gets pushed back slightly, so that it always hits the edge properly and doesn't kind of doesn't overshoot the edge and go through it. So this last sprite is always potentially colliding with the sprite before it. And that was causing the collision to say, well, there is a collision. There is at least 1 collision. It involves the player. And there's at least 1 collision that involves the laser. But even though they were 2 separate events, the hardware collision was saying that you couldn't distinguish them through the hardware collision. Whereas now we can, because now we're using the hardware collision to actually do the initial check, and then we're using the multiplexer values to do the final check. There we go. Cool. Does the hiding still work? Yeah. So let's turn that sprite back on to the right color and stuff. Let's turn the let's do that quickly. So where's the masking now? That's in passable areas, I believe. Thought it was in here. I don't know where color is. That's foreign color. There we go. So there's the color, and we just need to set the background priority, which is this one here. So it just needs to be let's say that like that. I think that's probably right. Oh wait, hang on. That's the thing I put in, I believe. That should fix things. Oh, no hiding from laser in the lower part of the screen, I meant. Oh yeah, let's try that out. Try that out now. It should do. It should be pixel accurate now, this collision, or more or less. If anything, it will be a little bit forgiving because of the boundary that we've set. Oh, why is that not loading now? Or did I screw up there? What's going on? Passable areas. Oh, did I make a boo-boo in here somewhere? Oh, it's not running though. I made an error somewhere. It's line 15. Oh, it's gone now. All right. No, Vice wasn't running. Okay, so let's just check the masks. Okay, the mask color is wrong. I thought I'd just change that to black. Oh, maybe I did an undo, didn't I? Damn it. All right. Okay, I'll go back and fix that. But hopefully now I should be able to hide under here. Perfect. Perfect. And if I just nudge out a little bit. Oh, that's interesting. So okay. Wait a minute. Is it not colliding with the bottom one for some reason? Oh, it is. Okay, it's a little bit of something I need to do here. Let's just fix the color on this thing. Color. Where are you? There it is. That fixes that color. So this could be down to the width settings. Let's have a look what's going on. Let's slow it down. How many frames? Because it could just be down to that one frame check as well. Oh, although it shouldn't matter for the one frame thing. Oh no, we're definitely hitting it more than one frame there. This could be down to the hardware thing as well. Because at this point we're on the reused sprites, right? So at this point we're at the point where the sprites are being reused. So I kind of feel like maybe the multiplexer needs to record the sprite collisions as well. So if I move up, I think it's probably, yeah, let's just have a look. Let's change some values around, right? So it's only going to be when I hit the right point that it's going to suddenly think I'm collided. So we've got one, two, three sprites on this screen. 4, 5, can't see, hang on. 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is sprite 7 that we're on now. So actually we should still hit it here as well. Oh, we do, all right. Okay, so yeah, I think we're hitting a point at which the sprite collision stops working because it's already checked the sprites above. So what we would have to do here, I believe, let me think about how to do this. Hey, Gaheem. How you doing? Well. Okay, let me just confirm by moving like over here. where it's kind of not hitting the edges quite as much. Yeah, okay. So anytime we use a multiplex, right? So anytime a sprite has been reused, its collision bit has already been cleared up at the top. So that means anywhere in the upper half of this kind of beam, we're always going to be shown as colliding. But the moment you get down to the kind of the lower reaches of it, we're on sprites that have already been drawn up at the top. So it doesn't believe that those sprites are being used. So I mean, yeah, let's take a look. Actually, that's not a bad point. So yeah, that would imply that the ones on the bottom half of this would not be colliding. And yet they do. But that could be because they're colliding up here as well. Because they're hitting each other up here. If these weren't colliding with each other at all, I don't think this would hit. And this is why we're only getting some collision here. We're getting collision when these collide up here. Okay. One down works though. Bottom left worked in it, which is the rest of where you test. Oh, maybe I need to test very early instead. Maybe I need to grab the values super early. Actually, that's a really good point, Andy. That's a 5-pointer if that's at least. So instead of doing it this way, what we're going to do is we're going to grab this value from somewhere else. So what I'm actually going to grab is I'm going to grab this from player Sprite Collisions. And instead, what I'm going to do is at the very, very beginning of the IRQ stuff, which is actually an IRQ. Let's go grab that. Oh no, because that's actually grabbing the IRQ starts in quite a early place, I believe. I need to just check where that actually is. Multiplex entry, where is that? To F2. Actually, no, that's all right. F2 is fine. Oh, we're already reading it here and storing it. Okay. Where the hell is that? Collision sprites. It looks like I'd already thought about this. Still, it's worth points. It's worth 5 points at least, I think. So what do you reckon? Do you reckon this is going to work? Yeah, I think it is registering that. I think you're right there. Good call. Yeah, there we go. That's better. Spot on. Spot on. Definitely worth points. There we go. I'll take the points and run. Yeah, no, you were right. You were right. It was you were exactly right in what you said. It was reading too late because it was kind of reading about here, which meant these sprites hadn't even been drawn yet. Because it was on a new frame, these values would have been cleared, right? So instead what I'm doing now is I'm reading at this point down here. So I'm reading kind of on the previous frame's sprite arrangement, basically. And that works fine. Cool. So the only thing I want to do here is I just want to see how long that's taking to do. It shouldn't be too long, but we'll take a look, and if it is relatively long, we might try and optimize it a little bit. However, it's a non-critical a piece of code in that it doesn't matter where it happens on the screen. So uh, okay, so let's just increment the border here. Decrease it here and get rid of the increment in here, and then Yeah, that makes sense. Which was why it kind of sat on the sprite multiplex boundaries as well, because all the sprites up until the first multiplex split are drawn kind of really early on the screen. So, um, okay. This is cool because this means we can start moving on to. Oh wait, that didn't seem to do any border increment anywhere. Wait, did I actually put that in? I mean, I know it's not that fast, so did save the file. Maybe that was it. Yeah. We can start looking at actual kind of enemy sprites now, because we've got a room with a Robotron thing in. I'm probably not going to do that tonight. It's probably quite a lot of work to do, but okay, so you can see it's not using very much until you actually hit, and then when you hit, it does a bit more of a thorough test. But that test is not bad against the sprites that we're seeing there. It's not that bad at all. Certainly acceptable, I think. Okay, the only other thing is this is going to collide against this now because this is a sprite. So we do need to put Nicomo's idea of having certain sprites kind of ignored from it, basically. So we'll how are we going to do that? Okay, let's think about that. Test with mace. Yeah, I'm going to test with the mace, but I need to do this bit first because this is going to cause a collision here. So let's put this border increment back in. Let's get rid of this border increment here, and I'll show you what I mean. So at the moment we're just checking anything against the player, which means that sprite in that corner, which you can kind of squash up against. Actually, that sprite in that corner should probably stop you from going into it. You probably shouldn't be able to get into it. It should probably have some kind of collision stop, if you like. But I think actually what we need to do here is not have a list of what you can and can't hit, but just return what you've hit in the collision. So there will be a value which is either 0 or an index, and then the screen update can handle the rest of that. So let me just. Okay, let me think. If this is. Yeah, all right. Yeah, that should be the easy way to do it. Okay. So what we do here instead is we transfer X to the accumulator and return. So now the accumulator is either going to contain 0 or is going to contain a number from 2 onwards. Now what we know is on that screen, which was screen 11, I think. I can't remember. Passable area, laser in it. Yeah. So we know on this screen that we have a sprite already set up for the flashy ball thing at the top, switch index. Here we go, and that value is stored in switch index. So what we can do in update in here. Check no sprite collision. Okay, we don't need any of that anymore. Instead, what we'll do is we'll store the accumulator here for collision sprite. Actually, let's do it at the end of that. Yeah, let's store it here because we might want to use it more than one place. So actually, we'll do store X at player.player sprite collisions, and there. I mean, that's fine. So now we know which sprite number is hit, and this will either be 0 or something else. So then in our screen update, we're just checking. In this case, we're checking against the laser, and that's all we need to check against. So actually, we don't need to do it in here either. I think the screen can kind of be left alone. And instead, we'll move this into the laser code, because the laser knows which sprites it's got involved with. Where is the laser? It's like somewhere weird, like sprites. Yeah, okay. So in the update in here, we can do a check here. So we can say we're checking against this value here. So we're going to load this value. If that's equal to 0, we do nothing. Actually, we need to do this after this. Check versus player, because this only happens every other frame. So we need to check this every frame. So we're going to check, first of all, is there a collision? If not, then we just skip. If there is a collision, we need to check that it basically fits between the two values, base index plus 0 and base index plus 1. So base index plus 0 is our initial value. There's the update on. Here it is. If it's less than that, we've not collided. However, if it's more than that, we now need to check it against base index plus 1. If it is equal to that, we've collided. And if it's... Okay, so let's put collide here. So if it's more than that, we've collided. If it's equal to that, we've collided. Otherwise, we've not. In which case, we exit. Let's just put that there, like so. Yeah, that'll do. All right. And here we can just do player.killPlayer and then RTS again. In fact, because it's at the end of the function, we can probably just do that to save a byte. So I'm going to do that. This is called tail calling. Instead of jumping into a subroutine, you can save a couple of bytes, or you save a byte and 6 cycles by not jumping back to this routine just to return from this routine. Instead, you return from the other routine to out of this one, because we've jumped from this one, not jumped to a subroutine. Yeah, I remember it being called Gloom on the Amiga. It was kind of funny. Okay, so now you can see that these don't kill me, and they don't kill me because it's down to the actual entity itself to decide if you've been hit. So here I will get killed if I hit this, which I do. There we go. And again, obviously there needs to be some invincibility here. And now if I stay in the middle here, boom. All right. So obviously that death is too quick. There needs to be some invincibility at the beginning, but we need to work on those things later. I think that's just small bits of polish. That's fine. More interested in getting the bulk of the... Oh, fuck. That was the wrong place. No. Okay, now it's actually hard because now I can die at different points. So the area that I'm interested in now, what time is it? I'll probably play Resident Evil a little bit earlier tonight because I'm kind of doing quite well with this. So, oh man, how was I in range then? I don't think I need to knock the range down of those. Got to remember, if I can activate them, I can die to them. Yeah. So this room here, when you enter it, the door's supposed to close behind you, and then a Robotron kind of system starts playing out. Oh God, I wish there was a minus 100 AMK points. Hey, well, look, Oh, I don't know why that went there on the wrong goal, but it did. It's mean when you respawn in the laser. Yeah, I think. Oh, oh, oh. Well, okay. We found what we're going to do now. We're going to work on this bug. Interested. I have no idea what caused that. Does it reset properly? Okay, so it resets. Okay, so let's see if we can figure out how to do that. Oh fuck. Okay. Okay, it's really hard now because the laser can freaking kill me. So I came down here. Get past all of these. Okay, and I came out of here. Bollocks. Okay, so I guess some Vic values being written here that shouldn't be, because it seems to be set in. Actually, it looks like the screen address is changing. That's the weird thing, but also that it's going into multicolor mode. So let's just try. Let's just try going in here and going straight down and straight up. Okay, not an issue. Right, let's get killed by the laser. Then go down and then go up. Okay, so let's blow some of these up. Then go up. Aha! Okay. I think we're in that weird state with the multiplexer again. Okay. Fuck. What is being changed? Something is being changed. Okay. What would do this? I guess D011 could do this, I guess. Because it looks like it's set in multicolor mode. That's one thing that it seems to be doing, which is actually D016. So remove kill player and test again. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. It could just be this. It could just be because I'm doing this weird tail call as well. Maybe there's a value somewhere that it's expecting. No, it shouldn't be, but let's try it anyway. It seems to be when I get killed by that laser, right? So now I can't get killed by the laser and I can't get killed by the bombs. So you now have no return. Oh yeah, good point. Thank you. God, I'll give you points for that as well. You need to slow down with the points, Andy. Oh, it's 5. 5 is the minimum. That will be something as well that changes in the new overlay as well. There'll be more granular point awards as well. Okay, let's give that a run. Try to think what might have suddenly caused that, because we definitely weren't seeing that on the last stream. I mean, we were seeing bugs on the last stream. So okay, I can't die to the laser now. I can still die to these mines, but I should just be able to trigger them and then escape. But then I was seeing a bug here. Oh, and I do. Okay, the other thing I'm going to do is turn off the collision. So let's just turn this check off. Interesting. It's a fun bug. It's not a crash. It's like Yeah, number of it could very well be that, but I thought we'd kind of fix those bugs on the last stream, so we shall see. Maybe it's because in the collision we're checking against this value, but wait a minute. If I'm checking that at this point, does that mean I'm checking everything? So let's just have a look at the scroll frame. So scroll frame, jump frame, exit. Frame exit is here. Okay, so I'm not checking. I wouldn't be checking that. Okay, let's change this to C and do that instead. And put it back in. See if so. This is going to be slightly slower on some screens, but it shouldn't be a huge problem. X and Y being abused after the mine explodes. It shouldn't make a difference though. Number of particles. If it's zero index, the test is wrong. Not sure what you mean. If the zero index, the test is. Oh no, it's okay. Right, fair enough. Good, because I didn't know what you mean. It sounds like you didn't know what you mean either, so that's fine. Okay, so what I've done is I've just, instead of using the variable number of sprites to check against, I'm now using the constant number, the actual maximum. Oh, okay, so it's not that. It's something to do with this loop. So let's take a quick look at what's going on in here. And is there something else that we need at this point? So first of all, let's go and check where it's being called from. So it's being called from here. There is nothing needed here. It's essentially just loading values from other memory locations. There's no expectation that this is going to return with a particular value. Okay, so that's good. So then in that case, let's take a look at what's going on in this routine. Okay, so we've got this value, store player x player sprite collisions, which is in another file. So, I mean, that shouldn't be causing any problems because that is just a byte in its own location. We're loading values from the multiplexer. We're not storing anything there. We're not storing anything here as well. We're doing some checks, but we're not storing anything. There are some self mods. So we've got the half X pods and half Y pods. Half X pods and Y pods. Y pods is here. It's using an immediate mode value, so that should be fine. Half pods is here, and that is using an immediate value as well, so that should also be correct. We're using comma X. X is not being used anywhere else except for the loop and the final store. If we exit for any reason, other than that, it starts at 2 and goes up. Okay, so this looks to be all right. My suspicion now would be something around the self mod code, but I don't know why it would be. Does the collide routine write to the Vic registers? No, that's the strange thing. It doesn't. But for some reason, this routine is causing an issue. The only write that's in here is this one and the 2 self mods. So it's either something to do with the self mods for some reason. Was it like one store, one store, one store? That's it. That's the only self mods in the whole page. It could be happening too soon as well. It could be something, but I don't know why that would cause an issue though. So, but again, let's just verify once again. Let's see if we can make it happen. Let's turn off the sprite collision checks in here. Let's run it and see if we can get it to happen again. I'm going to do it a couple of times. We've had it happen pretty much every time. for fun, back up the X and the Y and the A. Yeah, possibly. That's not a bad idea. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. It shouldn't matter, but yeah, I might back them up in a second. Oh, okay. So we get a problem even without the, which would imply it's the multiplexer. Okay. 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 Why is that suddenly started being a problem? What did I do in it? What did I change in here? No, I mean nothing really. I decreased some values. Yeah, I mean I didn't do anything in there. Okay. Okay, so we know that the collision's probably fine, so I'm going to put that back in. I think that's absolutely fine. The question is, why did this not get picked up before? Why only now? So let me leave that out a second. Let me just go and check the IRQ. Turn that off. If it thinks there is an additional hardware sprite, then it's the next register. What? But we fixed that. That's something we fixed, right? On the map load reset, we actually fixed that. Sprite 8 for what? Sprite 8X. Okay, so see, that would be, well, that would be D010. You mean Sprite 8Y would be D011. But I don't think it's D011 because D011 is actually it could be bitmap mode. Yeah, maybe. Why the fuck is it drawn into more than one sprite though? Why is it only just started doing that? She'd only be drawing to 6 hardware sprites, plus the 2 that it's already trying to draw to. There's no jump to anything other than sprite 0 to 5 here. 6 and 7 are the 2 that are used for the player. So yeah, what you're saying, it would be this value here. This one here, this line. But that seems to only be drawing to I times 2, and I goes from 0 to 5. So I can't see how that would. But I get what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, that's a very good observation. I'm just not entirely sure that's exactly what's happening. The problem is we're catching the right to the assumed address is that we're probably using it a lot. Well, let's try it, but we're probably using it quite a lot, so it's probably just going to catch all the time. Because it's actually no, maybe not, because it's all right. Yeah, let's try that. Let's try that. I think that's yeah. I think this is probably the best course of action actually. First of all, why does that one keep appearing? That's a strange one. So what we think is probably happening, based on what Andy's saying, is that this one might be getting overridden. Yeah, see, this is going to trigger all the time. Ah, fuck. All right. Because it's also used for the I know. It's also used for the raster ninth bit. Actually, D011 less than or equal to 7F. Fuck, okay. How is that not? Oh god, yeah, it is always setting that value. Fuck. All right. Okay, I've got an idea for now. We should just be able to disable that. I don't think there's any case where that's going to be needed all the time. So I'm just going to turn that off there. I think that's probably going to be enough to make this work. Actually, it's probably a little bit of a performance improvement because we're never going to need sprites at that side of the screen, so that far down the screen. Yeah, it's wrong. D011. Yeah, I think you're right. Actually, it could be that Y value. But why does it think it's like a? Why does it think that sprite number is that? Is it because more than one thing exploded? Actually, that could be it. Could think there's more. Did I accidentally undo the fix that I? No, I kind of undid it because it's working. Okay, so right. So if I go in here, get rid of this. I don't know why that keeps appearing. It's really irritating, but it does. So D011 more than equal to 0. So hopefully this shouldn't. Oh god, it's still going. Sprite rasters. Ah, fucking hell. All right. So there's another one in here somewhere. D011. Main multiplexer IQ entry. Yeah, that doesn't need to be there either. We'll get there in the end. It's always more, yeah, because I want to catch it's if a value is written to it that is more than or equal to 0. It's not if it is more than equal to, it's only if it writes to it. So it's not a watch, it's a write watch, if you like. Can you not check the panel on the right of the debugger? It wouldn't be quick. I wouldn't be able to spot it. I mean, it's going to be so quick that, and it's not going to tell me where the code is written from, which is what I'm interested in. And if it is the case that it's being written with the wrong value, that's one thing. But I actually need to be able to spot the issue anyway. Is that not loading? Oh, there we go. Here we go. Now, if for fuck's sake, where is that coming from? I need to figure that out as well. 0.1 more equal to 0. So, yeah, there we go. Right, okay. So, oh god, is it also triggered by what is right into it now? Where is that? Oh, in the load map. Fuck. Okay. Ah, god. All right. There's a load of places where this is written, but it's only ever anded. So yeah, it's always the same as well, which is kind of good because I don't actually need it. So there's no point is this. Am I ever using the ninth bit on the IRQ? So, oops, it's obviously the wrong button. No, there is no. We don't use hardware scroll at all. It's all just full 8-pixel scroll. There was no point in. I toyed with the idea of using it. I thought there's not really no point at all. The scroll is so quickly it would just look. In fact, it would look slow if anything. It's that breakpoint I don't want. Okay, so come down here, trigger these. Oh, What the fuck? Why? Why now? What? This doesn't even make any sense. Oh, is it now because our raster is actually triggering a fucking stupid position? Oh, fucking hell, it is as well. All right, I can't use this method, unfortunately. Fuck. All right. Um, thought I wasn't using that, but obviously I am. Okay, let me have a think about this. So what could be set in D011? Well, only the multiplexer could be at the well, as far as I can tell, only the multiplexer could be. So let's just go and get rid of the Y position on the multiplexer. It's going to look a bit weird because we're probably not going to be able to see certain things in the right places on the screen. But if we get rid of this line here, in theory, we shouldn't be right into that position. But I don't see how that's going to work because this loop only goes from 0 to 5, right? So I don't think that's going to be an issue. I think we're still going to run into the problem. So yeah, all the sprites now are off into the border because they're not being set at Y position. But we should still be able to trigger these, which you can. Oh, interesting. Okay, let's get in the way of this. Like, it would be hitting us, right? So that would have hit us. Actually, we've got some weird screen shit going on here. Look, it's cutting off half of this. Yeah, something weird is going on. All right. Okay, let's put that back. Let's go and have a look for D0. Let's try the program. All right, so it's used in the what's this one? In the game loop. What's that about? Oh, it's just this. All right, that's just the setup. Okay, so that's just turning on. What is that turning on? That's a screen blank. Why is that happening? All right, I don't know why that's happening there. I think it's maybe just to blank the screen out while other stuff is happening. But let's take a look at other. Oh, screen shake maybe. Ah, ha. It's the screen shake. I'm certain it's the screen shake. It's this here. I think if I get rid of these, it won't happen. It shakes when things explode, which is why I'm kind of making that link. So it had nothing to do with the laser, but I think it had everything to do with the things exploding down here. Because these go boom. Oh, fuck. Oh my god. What's going on, man? Fucking hell. All right. I thought we'd got rid of all of this. I honestly thought it was much, much better than it was last time. So what should this be doing? It should be taking these values, ending it with these, storing it in D0, so it's D011. Okay, so one thing we could potentially do is prevent any screen shakes from happening. once we switch screens. So basically set the screen shake index to 0. So let's try that, because that actually needs to happen. So first of all, let's they finally figured it out. Okay. Yeah, it was a very good one there, because the thing is once you know it, you can kind of Google stuff, but until you know it, trying to find the connection is crazy. They figured it out. Yeah, well, they've got 4 more to figure out anyway, so okay, so let's try it again. I honestly believe this is causing the issue, and I think it's just related to screen shake. And I think what might be happening is if more than one thing screen shakes, then the number is quite big, and it takes a while to tick down. So this is going to be more likely when you hit lots of things, basically, which is actually wrong. It shouldn't do that anyway. So let's just take a quick look though. So I think if I trigger these and then while the screen is shaking, oh no, it didn't. Okay, so I hit 2 that time. So let's try 3. What is going on? What the fuck is going on? Oh man, just as I think I'm making progress, I find other shit that breaks. Well, the first thing to do is take this here and make sure this is reset. So I don't know what that is. It's probably in this file somewhere, I'd imagine. It is. Okay, so IRQ screen shake index. And these, okay, these are fine. So in that case, what I will do is there's a reset where everything gets reset as we change screens. One of the things we had to fix last time was the multiplexer needed resetting. So we'll do this a similar thing in here, where I'm just going to take the value 0 and store it in screen shake index. And this is just going to make sure, whoops, this is just going to make sure that if we do transition screens, that the screen shake will stop. And I hope that's going to stop the first crash that we've seen, but now I'm seeing a new crash. So if you eat 11 million bananas, you will die. Yeah, this is true. But then again, I think if you eat 11 million of anything, you will die. I don't think it's the radiation that's going to kill you with a banana. I think it's probably banana overdose. But yeah, I will pay someone 11 million bananas if they try it out. 11 liters of water, you'd probably die. Yeah. Well, not at the rate I drink water. That's like a year's worth of water. That 11 million H2O atoms. I love banana. I'll have a go. So you buy 11 million bananas. If you eat 11 million bananas, I will pay for them. If you ate 11 million bananas without dying, I will pay for them. I'm that confident that you won't. Because A, you've got to buy 11 million bananas. B, you've got to prove to me that you've eaten 11 million bananas, and then you've got to actually have eaten 11 million bananas. Let's pay for 11 bananas and make him eat them on live on stream. No, you would. Why is this not loading? I'll say waiting for it to load. Oh, God damn it. Just when I thought I was getting somewhere with this, it's kind of a bit annoying. Oh, okay. That needs to be IRQ, not screen index. Always the case, isn't it? But it's fine. This is kind of to be expected. It's my own fault for not spending enough time on this game. Which is why I've been making sure I do it once a week rather than once every 2 weeks now. The problem is I'm getting a new crash now. You should agree on a time frame. Oh, okay. Yeah, 11 million bananas. Okay. Well, I would say there would have to be a minimum of 1,000 bananas a day, which means you couldn't even do it in a lifetime. So, uh, yeah, it is switching to 38 column mode, which is D016 or something. Something weird is going on. Uh, something odd is going on indeed. Um, See, 1,000 bananas a day doesn't sound too bad. That's just over. It's like 45 bananas an hour, roughly, right? Well, a bit less than that, maybe 42 or something. But that's if you don't sleep, right? So if you do sleep, say you sleep for minimum 6 hours, right? Let's say you do 6 hours. That means you've now got to eat what 18. So you probably need to eat like 52 bananas an hour. So now you're down to the point where you're eating a banana a minute while you're awake. That's not going to be possible. That's not going to be possible at all. No human being can do that. I don't think. Uh, okay. Yes, it looks like it's going into 38 column mode. So why is it going into 38 column mode? Okay, so 38 column mode is D016, which again points to the screen shake. So I'm going to leave that screen shake thing there, but I'm going to go and just turn off the screen shake again in here. Because what I'm concerned about is that the value that we get at this point here is not actually the right value for whatever reason. Let's have a look at the table values. So these values should be okay. These are not going to be these are going to be very low values. So these are going to be bottom 3 bits. That's fine. So why is this going wrong then at this point? Let's just turn them off. Let's just turn the screen shake off, run it again, and see if we can get it to crash. Chances are high that you eat a banana spider. Banana Man can. Banana Man can. Banana Man wouldn't though, because Banana Man would run out of. He wouldn't be able to maintain. Sorry, one a minute. If you could eat 10 a minute, it would take 2 years to eat 11 million bananas. Is that without sleep? That's awesome. 10 a minute. It's a banana every 6 seconds. You would definitely have to get somebody to peel them for you, wouldn't you? No sleep, no toilet. Well, you could go to the toilet. You just have to be eating bananas while you're on the toilet. Sleeping and eating is a different matter, but definitely you could go to the toilet and still eat bananas at the same time. Okay, so there's definitely something weird going on with the Vic registers, but like for instance, this sprite in the middle for whatever reason is multicolor now, which is what is going on here? It's like something really weird is right into the Vic registers because that's multicolor sprites, right? Which is God, which is it now? D01C, right? So D01C, just in that one place, is being written to for whatever reason. Also, note I need to clear the doors when I move as well because you'll notice that okay, fuck, all right, there's something messy going on here. Well, I think we found what the next stream is going to be about. Let's see if we can fix some of it now, though. So the screen shake definitely seems to be having some effect. Not entirely sure what effect it's having, but it's definitely having some effect. So I'm just going to take that out for now. We'll come back to that at some point. The multicolor value for the sprites is being set because that middle of the middle of the laser was going purple, and it would go purple if, well, the only way it can go purple is if it's multicolor, because it was purple and red at the same time. So and you can see that the door on this side now, this is just a side effect of the way that the screen works. The characters that make up this door are characters that are going to be used to draw the next screen. So all doors need to be cleared from view before we move. Otherwise, you'll see a little glitch like that as we move. There seemed to be a crash when I moved a lot between two screens, except it's not happening now. So I'm just going to keep doing it a little bit just to see if it happens again, which it isn't doing, which is good. So clearing the door. There we go. Why it's done that, I do not know. Let's see if we can go down. Okay, so this could be something to do with the screen scroll mechanism. So we're finding lots and lots of bugs now. Okay, this is worrying. This is worrying. Okay, I'm going to start making a note of these in my pad for next time. Okay, so I need to hide doors on scroll. Right, now why might this be happening? Why might the screen scrolling? Can I replicate it? That's what I need to know. Bug tracker. Yeah, I should probably set a bug tracker up for this at some point. So it's fine. I'll write it down in a pad for now. Just make a Trello board or something. So I want to see if it does the same on this screen. So if I move very quickly between these screens, do I get the same problem? Because I don't have a door drawn on this screen, which is why I'm wondering if it's something to do with the door. Okay, I don't seem to be getting that problem here. Okay, so let's move over to this screen. So now I've got a door in place. So let's see if scrolling between these quickly causes a problem or not. It's not doing either on this one. Yeah, pad is a bug tracker in 1984. Yeah, exactly. There we go. Well, now I've got a crack. Okay, so there's definitely something weird going on with the screen scroll routine. Not entirely sure what it is yet, but it's something to look into. So to be honest, because I'm the only one working on it, a pad is probably fine. A bug tracker is great if you need to share it, but I don't really need to share it. So screen scroll crash at the moment. All right, so that's two things. Screen shake. I'm going to write crash because it kind of is a crash. So this is a list of things to look at on the next stream, I guess. All right, now I want to see if I can make it crash with that door open. So I'm going to open that door. The door, when crash is open, this time is closed. Oh, okay. Okay, so let's try that then. Let's open the door. I can't die to that yet, can I? Okay. Wait, what? How did I appear down there? I wasn't even looking at that, and suddenly I was. Wait, what? What? Okay, so there's definitely something wrong with the screen scroll. Wait, hang on. Let's just what the fuck? The frustrating thing about this is it was way better than this. It felt way better than this at the beginning of the stream. Oh my god, it's Groundhog Day. Oh no. Fuck. All right. Okay, so there's a few things wrong here. So obviously the screen scrolling is definitely wrong. Now, could that be something to do with all of this crap? Possibly. I mean, I don't know at this point. We have got a next screen here, but we are pushing some values. Do I need to push anything else? Maybe maybe the X value needs to be pushed here as well. Because we seem to be using it and then not using it all of a sudden. But could it be being used in load map? I'm gonna push X here anyway. So suddenly capitals as well. Because if we're using it here, it makes sense to just make sure that we store it. Let's try that. Let's see if that makes any difference. Disable multiplexer and sprites and test again. Yeah, I may do in a minute. Disabling the multiplexer isn't the easiest thing in the world to do, though, unfortunately. But maybe disable the dynamic stuff in that. That might be enough. I'd love to know. I got in. Oh, see, what's that about? I don't know where this new jam is coming from. Yeah, 1923. That's exactly where we're at now. Oh, what should be here? Oh, this does not look good. So this should be. Where's our actual memory map? Oh, we don't have anything there. Oh, it's music. It's music. What the fuck? Why is it crashing in the music? Let's turn the music off. Hang on. Can't think why it would be the music, but one thing that I do though is I do have this weird kind of routine that jumps between kernel routines, and it could be to do with this, because this is kind of a scary bit of kind of code here that it's doing, where it switches between a kernel IRQ and a non-kernel IRQ to do the screen scroll, which is kind of a fundamental part of how this works. So I hope it's not that, because that is kind of scary to have to change. If that is the case, I will have to probably spend a bit of time off stream figuring that out, because it's not going to be the most interesting thing to look at while I do that. But it could very well be that. What the fuck? What? It looks like it's gone into like ECM mode now. Yeah, it's gone in ECM mode. And all I did was turn these off. Okay, so let's turn the shit off for this screen. Let's make sure this screen doesn't do any optimization. So let's get rid of this. So this is not going to change those values now. It's really weird. Some really weird stuff happening here. Okay, so we've got no optimization here, which means we're going to get flickery particles everywhere. But let's see if that actually solves these issues, or if we still... Okay, so obviously the door glitching is always going to be there because I'm not actually clearing the door at all. But I want to see if it actually breaks the... It could just be that multiplexer. If that is the case, I'm just going to turn off the dynamics. No, there we go. Got to crash again. So where are we at? We're at okay. Where is this? Oh, oh. Let's go back a little bit. I'm not sure where that is. Oh, it's in the switches code. Okay. Okay, so we'll have a look at switches. I don't think it's that though. I think this is just where we're ending up because of the stack pointer is throwing us somewhere. Because it's pointing to some... Yeah, I mean it's... I mean, I'll go and check the code, but I don't think it is to do that. Although it would make sense because that is the only screen with a switch on it, right? And that's the one that's crashing. We're not getting a crash on the other screen, which is a good point, actually. We're not getting a crash on the other screen. All right, let's take a look at the switches code. So switches, what do they need to do? Well, the update is going to be the obvious place, right? So let's just put an RTS in here. Let's just return from it straight away and see what happens. Codio, go for it. Because we don't get the error on this screen, and I will confirm that in a minute when we come back. And now the switch is not going to work, right? So the switch does nothing. But is it the fact that the switch was doing something, doing some kind of check that was causing the crash here? Interesting. No, but you can see it has actually crashed in the switch code again. So where are we actually here? Let's have a look for this restx. So we've got some self mod in here, and where is that living? Oh, maybe it's not that. Oh, it's in this ad. Oh, okay, it's in here. Okay, well, let's just cancel all switch stuff out. Maybe it's not clearing the switches. Maybe it's trying to write into the wrong places for the switches, or maybe it's not checking the callback properly. So let's just remove all update and add. We'll leave the clearing, that's fine. It would make sense to do something like that because it's just that screen, I think, that seems to be the problem. So okay. So the sprite's been added, but there's no actual switch data being added, which means nothing is happening in either of these functions. It's just RTSing straight out of them. So far, seems to be all right. Okay, so I think it was to do with that add function. And I think what was happening, because it uses self mod. Actually, no, it's not even the self mod, is it? Because the self mod can only write to this position here. But I think what was happening is something was overriding these positions in here. So the value it was getting from the next switch was like a really high value. So probably this was not being reset, which means this was not being reset. So let's check that switches.clear is being called somewhere. Switches.clear. Oh my god, seriously? Seriously? No wonder this was causing a problem. So, okay, so this is what was happening. We have room for 2 switches. No more. So every screen can only have up to 2 switches. Every time a switch is added, this next switch value goes up by 1. So a switch gets added to the screen, this goes up by 1. This value, I think, was just being continually incremented, so that eventually that these were not being setting values here, but they were setting values here and setting values in here, basically overriding all of these. This was not being called. So if I do, let's see if I can figure out. This is why it's always roughly the same amount. So at some point this will break, and it will break because one of the values that gets written in here will be wrong. So this is what we should see in this location. But if we do this again, what we'll see is that this is not the code that's there when we fail. So it's not even self mod. The self mod was fine. It was just I got to have more confidence in my self mod stuff because I'm all right with it. My problem is apparently everything else. And the reason why it only happened on this screen is because we've got a switch here, and this is probably also what's causing the scroll problem as well. So speaking of merch, I do need to get some more merch sorted out. I'm going to get some .cosmos t-shirts done, I think, at some point. I've been promising to do them, and I did speak with Jamie about getting done, but it's just kind of I didn't really hear anything back about it, so I'm just going to do my own, get some. So this should crash. Okay, so it is crashed again in that source code. So let's just go and find the beginning of that code. Okay, so this is the switches. This is where the clear routine is. And you can see the clear routine is not a clear routine anymore. It's got these jams in here and then some other stuff. It's just not right anymore. Yeah, and that's the problem. So all I think I need to do is take this clear, go into map loader, find where all those things are cleared. I can't remember where it is now. It's in here somewhere. In here, and so yeah, I wasn't calling it at all. So of course this was gonna fail. Yeah, so what was happening was that switch value was never being reset to 0. So what's supposed to happen when you exit a screen is all the values in these kind of data structures, all the indexes that point to the next valid data structure should be reset to 0. So if there's 2 switches on a screen, you've got 2 switches on a screen. Your next switch will be set to 3, which can't possibly exist, but we're never going to use it anyway. But then when you go into the next screen, it gets reset back to 0 again. But what was happening here was just incrementing, which meant when these values were written by the routine, which adds the, we've got data add, callback, add xpos, add ypos, particularly these callback versions here, these values were getting overwritten here and here and here, and because they were overflown from this into this. So it would have only taken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 extra bytes to have been written. So 9 7 plus the 2 switches you had, so 9 entries in and out of the screen, and it would have failed. It looks like everything else is being called. I don't see any reason why anything else isn't being called. I can't remember everything offhand, so explosions is next free in it. Explosions in it. Routine clear all. Okay, let's clear that one as well. Explosions in it. Let's just check if it's being called, actually. Explosions. Okay, that is being called. Oh, that's called on a game loop. Okay, that's actually that's the beginning of the game loop. So that's not the right one then. It's actually explosions.clear all, isn't it? Yeah, explosions.clear all. Okay, that's not being called as well. So let's go and add that in. Okay. Because that could be a reason why we're getting the other bug happening. Okay, cool. So let's have a look what else. We've got doors as well. Okay, doors has a next door. There is a clear. Okay, so doors.clear. Oh, okay. I don't know why that's called in here. Multiplexer clear sprites. Why is that being called in here? These shouldn't be being called in here, really. Because let's just have a look. What have we got? Mod loader. Okay, I'm gonna comment them out and put them in here as well, because I think it makes sense to do these in here as well. Let's put all of these things together like that. So these are entities, and the multiplexer. Multiplexer can actually go here. So this is the multiplexer reset. Then this is okay. Particles, items, yeah. Possible areas, power ups, reset. Okay, yeah. All right. Entity is its own thing. That's that. I don't want to mess with that because that's not something I need to reset automatically. That's happened by the register and deregistering stuff. Explosions, yeah. Doors done. Passable areas is done. Player is not the same, so power ups is done. Switches is done. Utils is a completely different thing. It's just got the random in it. Don't know why that's in there. It's a weird place for it, but okay. Decals and bullets. Decals is done. Bullets. Does bullets need to be done in here? I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say it probably should be. So let's have a look at bullets reset. Well, thankfully, the clear routines are quite simple. The clear routines literally just reset a little bit of data in these things. But actually, one thing this is data. Oh no, that's fine because the next index is actually when you add a bullet, that loop should loop round. Yes, it does. Okay, so that is fine. So actually, resetting is probably not needed here. But I'm going to put it in anyway. That's just for. Yeah, I'll put it in anyway. I think it makes sense. Okay. Destroyable is different. That's another. That's a persistence data thing. Items is also a persistence data thing. Uh, uh, well, it's like a pickup thing, but it's reset anyway, so it's fine. Particles has a kill particles. It's not a reset. That's fine. Sprites is swarm. These are screen specific things, so things like lasers and swarms and stuff are screen specific, and they would be resetting here. So I'm actually surprised there isn't a laser reset in here, but I guess it doesn't need one. Okay, let's have a look. Oh god, I've got a bit of headache now. Okay, so let's see. So obviously the door is the door is still going to do the glitch, because even though the door is resetting, what it's not doing is turning off its rendering. It's still rendered to the screen using a set of characters that is now going to be used by the screen scroll. But we should see no issue with the screen scroll now, at least, because the switches should work properly, and that certainly seems to be the case, which is good. We're not getting a CPU jam. We're not getting the weird screen scroll. I think that has actually solved those bugs. That's good. So the only other thing that it's not solved is the screen shake, which I'll turn on again in a second. Although this could, again, it could be related to the same thing. So we'll turn the screen shake on in a minute. And then, yeah, that seems to have fixed it. So that's good. Okay, so let's turn the screen shake on. Let's just check that the buttons switches are actually working now. Yeah, okay, so the switch actually works. That's good. I'm going to turn back on the particle performance, and then we'll check the screen shake, because the performance thing, I think, is quite important. We're going to see more and more screens that need this as we go along. Check explosions. Explosions are cleared as well. I don't know why it's called clear all, but yeah, I will. Oh, you mean check them on the other screen? Yeah, I will do that in a second. Just trying to check the quick test things first. And once we've tested those, we'll test the screen shake. Turn that back on as well. Yeah, it was a Steam game first before anything else. I forgot what I turned back on then. What did I turn on? I can't remember. I can't remember what I did. No, I didn't turn the screen shake on. Oh, there's some weird particle shit going on when I switch screens sometimes. I mean, it's a minor thing, but yeah, the door sprites just need. Oh, there you go. There's the weird particle things. It just happens now and again. So the particles are not being killed probably between screens, but I will write that down. Screen scroll. Yeah, they need to be sorted out. Yeah, so that's something I was saying before, that the door needs to be. There is a particle reset. I don't know why it's not killing the particles. It's probably because the screen is scrolling in between a clear and a draw. So even though I'm telling the particles to stop drawing, they're still recorded in memory as being something that need to be either blitted or cleared. So it's probably something to do with that. It will be a relatively easy fix. It's not going to affect the crashing at the moment. So this seems to be working. Okay, let's go and get some explosions on the go and do some explosions. Aha. Okay, so we're still getting a bug with the explosions going off that seems to affect the. See, this is D011 again. So this is put it in ECM mode. If I go and check D011, see, it's on DB, and DB is, yeah, it's ECM mode. Oh no, it's not actually. That is DB, so that would be 8. Oh no, it is. Yeah, it is ECM mode. Okay. Okay, so there's still something there. I notice there's no screen shake, so I'm actually confident that the screen shake hasn't got anything to do with that. But it does seem to be something related to the explosions. So the explosions were still on screen. Okay, let's go and have a look at the explosions routine. Definitely, let's just run it again and see if I can replicate it, but it seemed to be something to do with that. Okay, so I think if I've got an explosion just on happening as I scroll screens, see, I didn't hit it in time then. All that time. There we go. And then I died for some reason. So let's check the explosion code. Let's see what happens when they reset, and let's see what they do when they update. So here's the explosions code, and let's have a look how they update. Okay, so explosions initialize, which is basically just calling the clear all. Clear all goes through and resets all the values to 0. Okay, good. Then the main loop does an explosions update, and that is it. It just does an update. So what does update do? So update checks to see if the type is 0 or not. So if the type is 0, it won't update. Okay, cool. So that means if we do a clear all, then those explosions should stop updating. Is there any other value? Next free, maybe that needs to be being set. Clear all is saying no, it's setting it to there. Okay. Okay, those values look correct. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up with chat at the same time. Okay, there was a water purifier that energized water, and the golfer who promoted it died of cancer of the jaw. Jesus. Because it used radium. It's probably true. It wouldn't surprise me. Okay, so is it anything to do with these at all? Let's go through the same method we did with the switches. Let's turn off the ads and the updates and all those things. So let's get rid of this update. Let's get rid of this ad. And let's just see what happens. We'll leave the clearing because that doesn't seem to be doing anything specific. And just see if we can make it crash. And I think we'll probably end up leaving it here in 15 minutes. And I'll play a bit more Resident Evil for an hour, and then I shall see you all again tomorrow. Kind of looking forward to tomorrow. I have got to figure out how to wire the PlayStation up with the best quality. I mean, you're not gonna get 4K, unfortunately, like me, but at least you'll be able to see it, I guess. So, boom, boom, boom. Okay, not an issue. And I'm going to do this a few times because I think it wasn't always obvious. Oh no, there you go. Okay, it's just nothing to do with the explosions. We still got an issue when we came into the screen. Okay. Okay, so if it's nothing to do with the explosions, what could it be? So what is actually happening? We're getting something which is drawing into D011. And if we look at D011, there's only a few places this is actually being written to. And in almost all cases, it's either directly written to with a value, or it's just ANDed with 0FF. Now, one exception is this one here, but this is right at the beginning. This is actually when the screen is being set up, and that's fine. And everywhere else, it's just been ANDed with 7F, which is either in binary or not. This one here is ending with everything except this byte here, which is just a screen blank thing. This is tile screen anyway, so it's not that. So if it's not directly being set, then we get into the situation where maybe it's being set. This gambling here made me work on a side project. If it's not being set directly like this, then maybe it's being set, as Andy was saying, as a kind of an index value somewhere. Oh, here we go. Look, we've got a screen shake that's not been oh, wait, I have commented that out. Okay. Holy shit! Did you just get up to? Holy shit! You on 6 million points? Wait, is that 6 million? 3. Holy shit! You are as well. Holy shit! Thanks a million. I like it. Okay. So in that case, what we need to look for is a value less than D011, right? So the only value less than D011 that we might write to would be D000 and D001, and then we would use an index to look them up. The reason it has to be less than, I'm looking in the wrong place, I was in Switch chat. The reason it has to be less than this value is because we're probably using an index like this, right? And this is what's causing the problem. This value is too high. So that means either the value is more than this and X is like a really high number, or more likely X is lower than this and this number just happens to be leaking over into, 1, 2 or something like that. That'd be 1, 1. So let's have a look and see where D00 is being used. And then D001, and then we'll just see if we can find any place where it seems to be maybe overstepping. Okay, so we've got our multiplexer. We've just got initialization here, and this is literally just clearing these values. So it's not going to be this one. So this, we can rule that one out. In fact, let me close tabs to the right. Let's just close everything over there because I've got too much over there. Okay, so it's not that one. So we've got this one. I checked this one. This is in a unrolled loop. The only way this could fail is if this was something higher than 6, and it's not. So it can't. I don't think it can be either of these two. I will come back to it if I'm struggling to find a problem. I will come back, but I don't think it's either of these two either. Which means we're kind of at the end, really, of what we need to look at now. The only other thing is this char set as well. We do have a char set change. It could just be that the char set is not looping around correctly. So that's a potential option as well. Forgot about that. So our character set lives at C800. And we constantly write into the character set. When we switch screens, we draw into the character set. And if the value is too high, it should loop back around and start drawing at the beginning again. It could be that something is failing in that, and we're overriding. Yeah, that actually makes more sense to me. But why is it only just happening? And what is the problem in there? I think that is the problem. That's a huge problem. How can I test this? Well, first of all, let me just check D001. I don't think we're going to find anything. Yeah, we're just going to find the same stuff in here. Okay, so to reiterate what happens with the character set. So the character set is dynamic. In fact, we'll be able to see if this is the case in the debugger, I would think. So if I go, yeah, so let's try this in the debugger. So what happens is, and you'll see this as I play this, is that the character set is generated dynamically on every screen load. So whenever you go into a screen, there's a little pointer to the character set which says this is where the next character set value needs to be drawn. And basically it goes, okay, what characters are used, which characters are used on this screen. And so it finds out the list of the characters that are used on this screen, and it writes them into the character set. And every time it writes one into the character set, it advances that index along. When that index gets to a certain point, it then resets back to the beginning again. It could be that for some reason is failing, and it could be to do with the door. It could be that the door is trying to use, because what happens with the door is the door then uses once the character set's been laid out, the door uses the next 10 characters along, or however many it uses. So I can test this quite quickly by turning the doors off on this screen. So if I get rid of the door and I get rid of the switch, we should not be able to crash this, in theory. Oh, why's it gone so slow? What's that about? Oh, because I'm doing a weird door up there. I'm probably doing update. Yeah. Okay, let me just do that and that. That's probably what's happening there. Wow, has that only just been discovered? I think that's been there forever. Who in the world would buy Dogecoin? I know. Why do people keep buying it? It's really strange. I mean, it was created as a meme. It was created to take the piss out of crypto coins, and yet people have like fallen into the trap of buying it. So I think this shouldn't crash now because of the door. And I think what was happening was when it goes to draw the door, it isn't wrapping those characters around. So when it goes to draw those characters, it draws a few too many bytes over the end and ends up overflowing. Shockingly, it didn't take many characters to overflow though. Yeah, and it looks like this is working fine now. Yeah, but you should have bought. Yeah, it's true. It is true. But I don't get why people are buying it. It has less value than normal crypto. And let's be fair, crypto has value because people are willing to pay for it and because it costs money. But well, that seemed to have a glitch then. But yeah, Dogecoin, on the other hand, it serves no purpose. It's literally there just to take the piss. But yeah. Okay, that seems to be working. Okay. Okay, this is good. This is good. So that means in the door code, there's probably something. Let's take a quick look at the door code. Let me just put things back in here. Turn the door code back on. Keep that on. All right. Let's go and have a look at doors. Okay, so when doors are generated next door, okay, that's not important. But what does happen is there is a marker which points to the next character, basically. And that marker is in the character set. So that should be, yeah, this font pointer here points to where the next character is. And then when a character is grabbed, then it should be, okay, so it's this bit here. This is what advances the font pointer. Without this, the door. Wait, this can't be right because there can't be that many characters. How many characters? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. Doesn't seem right. Well, I don't think this is quite correct, but it does feel like this for some reason it's failing. Maybe this reset is not working properly. Maybe that's what it is. Okay, well, we can check that behavior because all I have to do is get it to crash and then go and have a look at the font set. FOMO. Yeah. Bitcoin equals cryptography. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Well, I mean, Bitcoin uses cryptographic hashes, but that's about it. I mean, it's not. yeah, I mean, it's not, yeah, it's not cryptography in itself, but should have bought 1 million bitcoins in 2009, giving away 1,000 each stream. God, imagine that. Anyway, I don't talk about crypto on this stream. I have some crypto. I've got a decent amount of crypto, but I don't really talk about it. It's not. It's it's a very divisive topic, and I tried not to think about it because I just keep hold of it and don't do anything with it. So, all right. 32 total on cryptography. You find 9 times out. I'm talking about. Oh man, seriously? That's a shame. Uh, okay, right. So what I'm trying to do now is get it to crash, and then we'll go and take a look at the. Well, let's just actually see if we can bring up the font set. There it is. So this is the font set, and as you see, when I move down into another screen, you will see here's the door that's being drawn at the moment. Actually, it's both doors are being added, so actually it is 24 characters that are being drawn. But you'll see that the doors are drawn here at the end of the character set. So where the door starts being drawn, this is where the new screen will get drawn in. So as I move into the new screen, the characters for the new screen will start where I've got the red block here. So you'll see if I go down here, new screen gets drawn. I'm on the new screen. And then this is the end here. So this is where the next screen, when I go back, the next screen will draw into this one. You can see it gets drawn there. And the door gets drawn into this location here, which I think is incorrect. Or I might be wrong. Oh, no, I think this is the last position here. Yes, because it actually continues over here. So you can see the door is actually crossing that boundary, hitting the boundary at the which is technically the end of the character set, is where the numbers start, because this is all where the particles are generated and stuff like that. And then it restarts back down here. These characters here are ones that are used on every screen, so they're what we call base characters. These never get changed. But these characters do get overwritten. So you'll see when I change screens again, it will start from this position. And there you go, screen is drawn. There's no door on this screen, so I can't tell where it actually ends, but somewhere in the middle here is where it's going to end. And there you go, it's drawn again, and now the door's here. So you can see it's dynamically updated every time you switch. So let's try and get it to break and see what happens to the character set. Of course, it's not going to freaking break now, is it? No, I want it to. So we'll check the explosions. It did seem to be related to them, but I'm sure it didn't do anything. No, because I turned the explosion stuff off and it didn't fail, did it? And it's not failing now either, which is a bit annoying. So what I'm looking for is a case, like a really odd use case, maybe where the font pointer is pointing somewhere that's actually not the end of the font. Like maybe it's there we go. We've got a failure. Okay. So this doesn't make any sense though. So the door is kind of in this location. So it's not, it's the font hasn't been overwritten anywhere weird. It's definitely been written to the right place. But the only thing that's gone wrong here, if I go back to this screen and go to here and D011, which is here, and I change this to 1B, and the screen goes back. So, I mean, it's something we can fix with a workaround, which is to just always set D01B every frame. But that's not an ideal fix at all. So I'm going to leave this as one for next time. I have got screen scroll crash MCM. All right, there we go. So I've got a few things to look at on the next stream, but at least we've got the Sprite Collision in. That seemed to be pretty good, but I don't know why for some reason we're getting into this mode, whatever mode it was. No, was it DB? Yeah, we're going into that mode for some reason, and I don't know why. Need to figure it out though, because it's basically turning on ECM mode, and that's making it look weird like this. But we did have one where it sent the laser a different color as well, so who knows. All right, I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to be 2 or 3 minutes, and when I come back, we'll do some Resident Evil. So I shall stick the quiz on, wherever it's gone. There it is, and I shall be back in a few minutes. Be right back.